Start. We're ready, eh?
Yeah.
Perhaps what we should do, if you agree, is to start. Well, in this opportunity, once again, I would like to thank you very much, Professor de Batata Data,
Okay.
for your kindness and friendship.
Yeah. Sure.
And you are a great human being and a great scientist, and that's very, very important. You see, what we do with these kind of activities to show people, even I use these kind of videos for my students. And this is something which we do and acknowledge you.
Yeah.
And you are making a very, very, very big effort to help us, even on the other side of the world. India and
good.
Chile is
Good. Good.
it's like the dark side of the moon.
Yeah. Good.
So I keep on telling the student that the limit is the sky, as you say.
Sky. Yes. The limit is the sky. Yeah.
Well, you can share your screen since we are going to tape this.
Okay. Is it okay now?
That's lovely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you can start at any time, please.
Okay. So can I start now?
Yes, please.
Okay.
You're more than welcome to do so.
Yeah. So actually, as per Chilean time, it is a morning time. So
here is
good
10,
morning. Yeah, 9 a.m. I think it is there at 10 or 9 a.m.
10 past, yes.
10 past. Okay. Here it is an evening time. Here it is evening time. Exact time is Indian Standard Time is 6:40 in the evening. So first of all, I would like to express our sincere friendship, gratitude to Professor Roberto for giving me again an opportunity to express some of my views on these emerging areas such as quantum computing. So today I am here to express some of my experience on quantum computing with quantum harmonic oscillator. This particular computation is very new domain and lot of things are yet to come, but still that the lot of peoples around the world, they are already doing their research on the quantum computing with many domains. So here one simple domain I would like to emphasize, which is quantum harmonic oscillator. So let me explain my presentation from this angle. So what we wanted to basically do that, what is an overview of my presentation will be, I will explain quantum computation a little bit, then how the data representation takes place, basic structure of this quantum computation, which is in the form of the qubits. Then we will discuss about the Pauli gates, which are very important for this quantum computation. And then we'll explain some of the outcome of the quantum harmonic oscillator, and we'll show that how this Pauli gate and this harmonic oscillator can bring back together various quantum gates. And with the help of the quantum gates, you know that the quantum logic circuit can be prepared, and that's sort of all that the hardware can be generated. And then some of the simulations using this MATLAB domain, I will explain, so that at least we can see that algorithms which are going to be developed for that classical computer is sufficient for running the quantum computation. And these are schematic structure taken up from some Google's photos on the quantum computing and the quantum computer. Okay, let me recap what is a quantum computer. If you look at this particular figure, you see that the time evolution picture from 1970 to 2000 year wise, this lot of hardware component has got a ramp increase. Okay, and this is nothing but the Moore's law. So here from that we can say that a quantum computer is a machine which will perform many calculations which are based on the laws of quantum mechanics. And this quantum mechanics is a subject where the behavior of particles at the subatomic level will be discussed. Okay, basically quantum computer simulation will help us all calculations in quantum information science and quantum optics. Many of the development in the quantum optics can be taken place using this quantum computation. So let us discuss some salient features of the quantum computer. If you look at this particular quote, in 1981, Nobel laureate Richard Feynman, who pointed out that accurate and efficient simulation of quantum mechanical systems should be impossible on a classical computer. So, but until and unless you have a quantum computer, you cannot develop the algorithm. But till that, no algorithm will be developed. Only hardware cannot be developed without any algorithm. So people are trying to develop their algorithm on the classical computer itself. And similar to the same trend, I also developed. We are working as a team on the classical computer-based quantum mechanical algorithm development. So a quantum computer, we can say, relies on special memory, and this memory is nothing but the quantum bit, which will to perform the massive parallel computing. So quantum computer basically is one kind of parallel computer. Okay. Another point we can mention here that it employs the laws of quantum mechanics to provide a vastly different mechanism for computation, and also it exploits the unique non-classical properties of the quantum systems from which they are built. So the computation time will be definitely exponentially varying and with respect to polynomial time. So basically, if you look at this is the just fundamentals, a very salient features of the quantum computer, but there are many. As we proceed toward the particular research, you will know that what kind of computation we require. So we can just define here what is quantum computing. So quantum computing works on the basis of laws and postulates of quantum mechanics, as we mentioned that. And this particular subject, quantum mechanics, for a physicist, the very difficult subject sometimes they feel, but to my knowledge, it has got plenty of application as on today and in future also. So quantum mechanics stands on Planck's old quantum theory, followed by Heisenberg's uncertainty principle and Schrodinger equation. So analytical solution of Schrodinger equations are already available. And for that, to understand that, when you shift this computation to a computer, so we need to study a lot of matrix algebra and corresponding numerical techniques, because analytical solution is possible only for a simple structure of the system, but if for a complicated structure for practical utility, definitely we require numerical methods. Okay, so if you look at there are various placards of quantum information. This is Richard Feynman, who was describing during his time certain lecture on quantum mechanical computations. And this is, if you see, there are many placards that they are like quantum circuits, quantum control, decoherence, physical implementations, quantum measurements, quantum communications, quantum algorithms. So the huge amount of research scopes on the different domain with the help of the quantum computation is possible. These are the people always should be known for their pioneer approaching towards the quantum computing. He is Turing, his machine is very famous. This is Richard Feynman. The first idea came to his mind in 1982 about the quantum computation. Peter Shor, who is very known for his factorization technique in the quantum computing domain. And this is the Deuce algorithm, who is very famous for quantum circuits, which started from his domain as the 1985. And this is the structure of the quantum computer as on today, but still it is required. You see that the structure is not very healthy. We have to bring back on a tabletop or palm top. Of course, the quantum dots will bring into picture, and to reach to the quantum dots, a lot of hardware development is necessary. So as we mentioned that it is based on quantum mechanics. So we should know that what are the postulates of quantum mechanics. It is a review. If you look at I will not read all the things, but many people are knowing about these postulates of quantum mechanics. So one of this important thing that the quantum mechanics is based on the certain state function, or we call it the wave function, which contains all accessible physical information about the system in that state. And this particular wave function can be a linear combination of the basis state, which are nothing but the psi1 and psi2. They are also basis wave functions, and as a linear combination, we can generate that. So wave function is describing here the position and time probability amplitude. This is the first postulate. Second postulate tells you that when you know that the wave function, we can also try to find it out. We can easily find it out that what is the probability of finding the position of a particle or temporal location of a particle with for a certain domain or within a certain volume. So if a system is in a quantum state represented by wave function psi, we can describe that probability of occupancy of that state within that volume by using this expression. And obviously, this describes the position and time probability density, which is nothing but the amplitude of the wave function. So importance of normalization follows from the Born approximation, and very famous approximation where the normalization takes place. And according to the second postulate of quantum mechanics, the integrated probability density can be interpreted as a probability that in a position measurement at time t, we can find it out that particle invariant space. When there is an uncertainty takes place, so definitely the uncertainty in the position and uncertainty in the momentum will be governed by the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. Okay, this is the third postulate where all the variables in the quantum mechanical domain is known as the observable, and each and every observable will associate its corresponding operator, like position, associate the position operator, momentum is a momentum operator, and energy also will be described as an operator, which we will know later on. It is a Hamiltonian operator where kinetic energy and potential energy will be takes place. If you substitute here p squared by 2m, you will get this expression. That is why energy is an operator where this is the kinetic energy operator and this is the potential energy operator. So using this third postulate, we can finally construct the fourth postulate of quantum mechanics, which is an evolution equation, and where we describe about the Schrodinger equation in the short form, that h psi equal to E psi, where the h is nothing but our Hamiltonian, which is nothing but in minus h cross square by 2m into del squared plus v. So this is the kinetic energy operator and this is the potential energy operator operating on psi and giving the time evolution picture of the wave function. So therefore, we can say that if we divide if we partition the time evolution and temporal evolution, temporal location, so we can have a situation that the IH cross psi and H psi. So extension into the 3 dimension definitely will give you this domain. So we can say that we can have a time independent Schrodinger equation, and we can also have a time dependent Schrodinger. This particular picture is the time dependent because time is involved. Okay. So this is here you see it is a time independent Schrodinger equation where time part means we can say that the wave function is stationary. There is no time dependency. So we have a time dependent Schrodinger equation. The left hand side is an Hamiltonian part operating on the wave function, and it is returning back the wave function. So Schrodinger equation basically an eigenvalue equation. So if we try to solve with respect to the various initial condition and boundary condition, so we will have this kind of solution in the time domain. And of course, the psi x can be easily solved by using this equation with respect to specific initial condition and boundary condition, because initial condition is not required here because the time dependent, it is a time independent equation. And probability densities basically looks like this. we can easily take the multiplication of the complex conjugate and with its counterpart. So we'll get the probability density. These are the fundamentals. This way we can take the expectation value, because since there is a probability concept is there, so always we'll have to have a expectation that where is the maximum occupancy of that particle in that domain. Similarly, we can write down the expectation of a function by using this computation. So again, the second concept is to understand that the quantum computation is that all the variables in the quantum computing domain is referring a space which is nothing but the Hilbert space. David Hilbert, he gave this inequality about that normalization concept of the wave function. And Hilbert space, everything is that the space is complete. That is, it contains all its limit points. I will explain that later on that what is the importance of this Hilbert space concept in quantum computing. So that this is a Dirac. He has got a lot of notation, and he has implemented his concept in the electron theory. And with respect to that, it is very important to know that the many properties of the wave function. Suppose these are some of the properties I wanted to mention. This is one of the state function, and these are the two basis function. If I try to evaluate this, we will get that this kind of algebraical evolution, and then you will see that this particular bra and ket is nothing but a scalar product of the wave function of phi with the psi 1. So we can easily write that the lambda 1 of phi 1 and plus lambda 2 of phi 2 are the case. Okay, so that means you can see this particular thing with the help of this property, we can transfer this. So ultimately, this lambda 1 and lambda 2, they are not the real number, they are basically a complex number. Okay, so that's the thing only we wanted to mention here. And various product we can see. So this is the complex number. So we can see that the lambda star into phi. So fine, so we can divide this. This is the Hermitian who has got from the period of 1822 to 1901. Hermitian operators, you know, for everything to know here, this is Hermitian operator definition, very fundamental. That is complex conjugate transpose will be equal to the matrix itself. And why Hermitian equals, because Hilbert space, anything you calculate, everything will be the real. So that reality concept comes from the Hermitian operator. This is the Hermitian operator operating on the wave function psi and phi is this one. So it is giving that the message that Hermitian operators play a very fundamental role in quantum mechanics. We can see that later on. And one of the example is that the projection operator, which is Hermitian. Though this is a projection operator. Projection operator basically thinks that it projects on the another wave function from one wave function. So this is the Hermitian part. So they are Hermitian. Why? Because if I take the p psi dagger, I will get this concept, and definitely this is nothing but this one. So therefore, projection operator is basically a Hermitian operator. So if this is A, we know that this was equal to B. So our projection operator basic symbol is that the Hermitian operators always commute with each other. So that is the importance of finding that whether Hermitian operators or not. If we know that the two operators are Hermitian, so definitely they will commute to each other. And commutation means they may be having the simultaneous eigenstate in that particular domain. Okay, so these are the various properties of the Hermitian. Then another concept in quantum computing is the tensor product. This is a very useful concept for quantum mechanical computing or quantum computing. If you look at here, let there be two spaces E1 and E2 with the dimensions of N1 and N2. Tensor product of E1 and E2 is a vector field E with the following properties. We can use this particular notation. Whenever this symbol should be there between two objects, we know that it is a tensor product is taking place. If vectors belonging to E1 and E2 are this one, so definitely then vectors belonging to E will be equal to that. You substitute that in place of E1 is this, in place of E2 is this. So we take the tensor product and we can easily find it out that the tensor product is linear. So linearity property brings the picture to implement in a hardware form for doing lot of quantum circuits. Okay, so the suppose there are two spaces E1 and E2 with dimensions N1 and N2. So therefore, the tensor product of E1 and E2 is a vector field of E with this following property. The property that the tensor product is linear. Here we are bringing that the tensor product is distributive also. And when you are distributing, this property holds good. Okay. So tensor product of basis is also a basis. So therefore, we can say that whenever there is a tensor product, and finally, we will see that in quantum computation, qubit will be following a tensor product concept when there are mixture of the lot of quantum measurement is still taking place. And quantum measurement is very important for optics, known as the quantum optics or electron optics. And to whenever we study the quantum optics using the laser, so we require the lot of tensor product concept for implementing the hardware or developing the hardware. So tensor product of state space is the scalar product. So this is a scalar product of the tensor product. For orthonormal basis, this kind of concept it will take place. Tensor product of operators will be that. Okay. So these are the projector, and this projector will be that. I am not, because these are very standard. Okay. So qubit start in a start, but we can imply that a very useful matrix will taking place when you try to implement the hardware part. This is the Hadamard gate, and Hadamard matrix is nothing but this structure where a lot of transportation is taking place from one to this. Okay. So therefore, we understood that the basic idea of the tensor product and postulates. And let us go into the inside of the quantum computation. It starts with the quantum bit. So we should explain that what is a quantum bit, though people know. So quantum bit represents both 1 and 0 at the same time. So qubit is a basic unit of memory that uses superposition of the quantum effect to store the information. So a qubit can be in any linear combination of this state, which is that the ket psi equal to alpha of ket 0 plus beta of ket 1. Okay, and this alpha and beta, they are the scalar numbers, so therefore they represent their probability. So if the qubit is measured, it will found in a state either 0 or 1 with this corresponding probability. So qubit is basically unit vector in two-dimensional complex vector space. So therefore, we can say that a qubit is such that object which can store the probability of information. So all the quantum information will be measured in terms of the qubit. In a classical computer, its basis are the binary digit, that is bit. But in a quantum computer, this physical basis will be the quantum bit, qubit. Okay. So bits and qubits will be the a quantum bit is the quantum mechanical generalization of a classical bit. A two-level system such as spin, the polarization of a photon, or ring currents in a superconductor. So classical bit is nothing but a switching circuit which will give this case. If the switch is on, it is 1. If the switch is off, it will be 0. But in a quantum bit concept, it is basically spins polarization of the and that means spins are there, the polarization should be there, and ring current. If we try to explain this kind of thing, then we require a quantum bit concept, which is structurally formulated by using this formulation. So we can represent the quantum information as a linear combination of ket 0 and ket 1, which are the quantum bits with various transformations can be there. From a single measurement, we can obtain a single bit of information about the state of the qubit. Okay, so there are a lot many hidden quantum information will be there, and this information will grow exponentially. So we can say that in word, in a quantum computer, the data corresponding corresponding data takes place in the form of a quantum bit, qubit. Okay, so quantum bit, we can say a bit of data is represented by single atom, and which is in one of the two states denoted by ket 0 and ket 1 that we have already explained. So in quantum computing, representation of data takes place in terms of the qubits. So a physical state, you can see that this is the nucleus, which will giving an electron surrounding the nucleus. This is then ground state. So the state 0 we can explain. And this is then from here, when it is coming back to the excited state, we say that is state 1. So excited state representing the ket 1 and a ground state represent. So this is the physical structure of the or physical meaning of the ket 1 and ket 0. This is an excited state and this is a ground state. So importance is that we can say that if we have an input, we can develop output like this. When you input is coming to the output as a 1, so this is exactly similar to a NOT gate. That means if this is an input, with the help of the NOT, we can develop the output. So quantum mechanically, we'll have a gate which is called the NOT gate. In the same way, we can have all our Boolean algebra, our quantum gate like OR gate, exclusive OR gate, AND gate, and so on. Okay, so it is, we can say that it is a quantum coin flip. If I flip that by using this, we will get that, and that we call the OR gate. Okay, so second one, when there are many qubits, so there may be interaction takes place between all the qubits or among all the qubits. That interaction is basically known as the entanglement. So entanglement is nothing but the correlation or the interaction between the data in a quantum computer. So entanglement is understood by a various combination of the qubit structure. So if you see that the entanglement as a resource, we can do the quantum key distribution, teleportation, quantum repeaters, clock synchronization, quantum communication complexity, and the distributed computing. Okay, so it gives what is the message it is giving here? It separates the parties perform operations locally and communicate classically. Classical resources are realistic and local. Shared entanglement is an additional resource not available classically. In a quantum computer, the parts interact directly quantum mechanically. So classical simulation is realistic, but need not be the local. Okay. For bigger tasks, you don't entangle more systems. Instead, you use more copies of a basic entangled source. Okay, the number of systems entangled increases the problem size. So how big your data is, that the entangled size also will be increasing. So if you see that the total paradigm change from classical computing to quantum computing, and quantum computing paradigm explains us, these are the various types of paradigm: standard circuit model, Nielsen 2003, clustered state computation, and KLM. So if you look at the unitary gates in this model is present, Nielsen no, cluster state no, and this is the no. Similarly, in the global entanglement, if we do, you see that all these models almost are present. Okay, so this is quantum computing is very important, means entanglement knowledge is very important for knowing that the quantum computing hardware as well as software. So then everything will be coming under the Hilbert space. That's the impact of the Hilbert space in the quantum computing. Okay, so that's the thing only I focused by this boundary. So if you look at in the classical input will be there, and this it will give the classical output, but in between the system will take place quantum world. So that means quantum computer we can do by using the classical input and retrieving the classical, because what we understand is the classical, but what computer will try to develop with the help of that is a quantum. So this is the basic structure of a quantum computing, that you feed the one classical input as an wave function or the state, and you take out the wave function or the state out, psi out, but inside the process will take place in the quantum computation. And therefore, since it is based on the qubit, which is a structure of the two numbers, so automatically the computation will be the faster. Okay, and quite fast. So this is my quantum world. This is a Hadamard matrix, putting a gate circuit here. So we are feeding all these three levels, gate 0, and then you will see that this is the line where we have this sequence, and then this is the line where you have got this is the 2-bit information, and then you will get a entangled state. So this is the computation generally will take place in this quantum. So that means from here we are getting this information, and we are seeing that by just putting certain circuit arrangement, we can get a triple state. So 3-qubit interaction takes place. Again, in the quantum world, you will see that the efficient provision of required Hilbert space dimension and tensor product structure will take place. And therefore, if I add with this no efficient realistic, we'll get the entanglement among all subsystems. So therefore, efficient use of the physical resources other than time will require the quantum world. And then definitely is not local. Efficient is not local, rather efficient is the dynamical. In the quantum world, this kind of concept is not there. No efficient realistic description of states and dynamics, which will give some arbitrary superstition. And again, you see that the efficient provision of the required Hilbert space dimension plus no efficient realistic description of the states and dynamics. So therefore, if we have a quantum computation, quantum information takes place where you will get the output as the classical, so that people will understand. Okay. So basically, what we want to mean that require the Hilbert space dimension for developing a quantum computer will be equal to 2 to the power n, which is the Hilbert space dimension. So if n is at the 4, so that means 2 to the power 4, like your bit representation will be taking place depending on the size of the data. So therefore, this has been quoted from this reference. We can read this and then we will get the data. So we can say that the no efficient realistic description of the states and dynamics implies that the subsystems must become globally entangled in the course of the computation. Okay. So Hilbert spaces are fungible. There are some adjective and etymology. So these are already mentioned here. And for example, if you see Hilbert space dimensions at d equal to 4, so there is a subsystem of the 2 qubit, and here you see I have taken a tensor product because the 2 qubit interaction will be taking place to the tensor product, and therefore you have a unary system. So from this point to this point, the transformation 2 and 4 will take place. From this one we can write the ket 0, which is the unary system. This one we can take ket 1. This is the ket 2 and ket 3. So therefore x and y will be taking a tensor product, will get the 2x plus a, and therefore the computation will be easier when we bring back into the tensor product concept. So, but we don't live in the Hilbert space. Our space is a normal space. So if suppose this one, so we can say that the Hilbert space is endowed with the structure by the physical system, and therefore we can say that the structure will become from the total world is basically going back to the Hilbert space to the external world. And we can see that the Hilbert space dimension is determined by the physics principle, and the dimension available for a quantum computation is a physical quantity. That cost will be the physical resources. So therefore, the cost of the computation will be taking place depending on the dimension of the Hilbert space. So the key question will be that what physical resources are required to achieve a Hilbert space dimension, which will be sufficient to carry out a given computation. So Hilbert space and physical resource, that is a single degree of freedom. Okay, so primary resource for quantum computation is Hilbert space dimension, and this dimension it will be a single degree of freedom if it is there. So we can say that in the p domain the delta p will be there, in the x domain the delta x will be there. So the Hilbert space corresponds to that, which is nothing but our Planck's constant, and therefore available Hilbert space dimension will be based on these action variables of the component. This action is available, so we will know that the h. So h it will decide that what could be the available Hilbert space dimension. So again, single degree of freedom, it will be the action quantifies the physical resources. Action is nothing but this concept, which is governed by the uncertainty principle of the Heisenberg. So Planck's constant set the scale, and therefore available dimension it will be your a divided by the h. Okay, a will obtain from this, and h is the Planck's constant. This it will give me the Hilbert space dimension, and knowing the Hilbert space dimension, we can know that what could be the cost of the quantum computation. And this is the three-dimensional structural view of a Hilbert space on many degrees of freedom. That was a 1 degree of freedom. Here, if we take out the box tuples, where the many degrees of freedom will be there. Okay. And in case of the many degrees of freedom, we can say that the 2 to the power n will be equal to a by h whole to the power t. That will be the your Hilbert space dimension measured in qubit units. Okay. So this is actually the t is the number of degrees of freedom. So you will give that the a by h 2 to the power n by t. So we can easily find it out by the sequence for many degrees of freedom. Okay, so it is a scalable. So now you see the concept is nothing but the polynomial time. So the t is quasi-linear growth. If I take this logarithm, so I will get that the t is approximately equal to n divided by log of the polynomial n. So again, that it is strictly linear growth, because when you do that the many things, we have the quantum digits basically, because a lot of interaction will be there. So we require to calculate the density matrix computation by using the quantum bit entanglement. So therefore the q dits is nothing but that. So let us see some simple simulation where we can do some calculation. Okay, simulations will bring that some constructing spin chain Hamiltonians based on some quantum register concept, partial transportation, and so on. So this is the simple program we can write on the using MATLAB platform, which I have written so far. And then very simple, if we try to get the decade structure, we can easily write this function. If you feed the input as a V10, and if you operate this one, W equal to Ket V, you will get the decade value. So Ket and blah, similarly, you can easily obtain by using running this function. We can have a Dirac bracket operation. So bracket is nothing but scalar product of these two. So this is the function where you require to pass through the various scalars. If you do that, for example, phi1, if I give that the input, phi1 output, I will get phi2 will. And then if I took the b by using this one bracket of phi1 and phi2, I will get the value of the b. So as it is a scalar product, so only single number I will get. Okay, so this is the commutation of position and momentum operator. This is the function where I giving the dimension of that. Based on the dimension and based on the structure of this function, here you will get the x operator, that is the position operator, and you will get the momentum operator. And if you, for example, if I give x operator 2, I will get the result. And for a complete matrix, when this is a Hermitian, as we have mentioned that, we can see that there is a Hermitian, because Hermitian matrices are always stressless. So that means position operator give the is a Hilbert space, and Hilbert space matrix are always the Hermitian. And why they are Hermitian? Because they are stressless. Same thing, we can calculate their commutation relation by using the similar concept, and you will get the result. So this concept we applied to the harmonic oscillator. This is a simple harmonic oscillator, and potential is Taylor formula expansion of the potential function is that. So we will give that the Taylor function is that. So we have a Schrodinger equation, and Schrodinger equation will be there sufficiently. So d2 psi dx square, this is the formulation. I need not to explain because it is known to everybody. So in the quantum computing harmonic oscillator is a length scale, momentum and action and energy. Okay, so in the quantization, this concept will be there, and definitely in the case of the dipole scaling, delta xn will be there, delta pn and en will be there. Okay, so in the quantum computing in a single atom, it is a length, momentum, action and energy is there. Okay, so both quantization will taking place. This is a Hilbert space dimension up to n, 2 to the power n, which I showed here. It is nothing but this concept. These are 3 degrees of freedom. Okay. So these are the parabolic potential, which are going to describe here. And then if I do the analysis, I will get that the parabolic potential that the various modes are nothing but this. So energy levels are obtained by this. And if you look at the ground state, you will see that the classically it is giving half h cross omega. But many of the experimental observation is failing by considering this energy, which is Heisenberg limit we call. So therefore, we have to study the quantum harmonic oscillator, and this is the structure of the quantum harmonic oscillator. So we can write the Schrodinger equation into this, and then this is my Hamiltonian. So this is very simple, and substitute this Hamiltonian as a wave function, psi x, solve this equation. So substituting by this again, we will get this equation, and this equation we can solve by various boundary value. So we will get that the Hermite polynomial at various range, and then energy levels will give that this is the energy level should be. Now you see that if n equal to 0, then only we will get. Otherwise, for excited state, n equal to 1 onwards, the energy levels are basically 3/2 or the addition of the 1/2. And this is a wave function after solving this. So this is the psi 0x, and this is the Gaussian measurement minimum uncertainty. So these are classical turning points should be there. So these are the various domains will be there, n equal to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And this is the probability for n equal to 10. And this classical turning points will be there. And these are the quantum computing in a single atom. So same thing, these are the physical parameters for length scale, momentum scale, action, and energy. So poor scaling in this physical unary quantum computer is this. So n equal to 100 qubits will be there, then definitely it will be there. So 5 times the diameter of the sun. So now we try to approach the solution by using the Dirac notation. So this is my Hamilton's equation. Classical part we already know. So if we substitute back, we will get this equation in the coordinate space. This is the momentum space. So Hamiltonian will be considered use this one, and there the canonical transformation we can get. So therefore we can see that the Hamiltonian is written to this form. You operate on the energy eigenstate, you will get the energy eigenvalue. So this is my computation will come, and for substituting the value of unit value, we can normalize this thing in a different scale. So x and p computation will giving this identity operator. We define the annihilation operator or the lowering operator and raising operator by this structure. And if you take the scalar product of that a dagger a, it will give the n, which is the number operator. And number operator, if you operate on this particular nth state, we will get this one. And if this number operator you operate on the h, so we'll get the n plus half h cross omega. So you see that the a dagger, if I do, I will get this equation. So a dagger, by using the substitution that the h value, I will get this. So these are the computation takes place in case of the quantum bit. I will show you that. So that is the purpose only I am showing here. So a dagger, it will be h minus half. So therefore h is equal to half of this. A dagger equal to 1. And then AH is equal to A. These are the various computation relation. Already we are knowing about these results. So now the eigenkette of H is there. So these are the various structures of the eigenvalue. This is the operator on that. And then you see that the energy is always greater than half. That is why classical concept fails, and experimentally many of the experimental observation stands on this basis. So therefore quantum mechanical concept is important to know about the limitation to avoid the limitation of the classical concept. So this is a lowering operator. This gives the new eigenvector. So if the lowering operator takes place on energy, it will be E minus if we further operate on that, you will come. So you see that the lowering operator continuously operate on the energy, you are going back to the ground state. So finally you will see this in equation which I showed that and the lowering operator, when on the ground state operator, there will be no, there's a zero energy. Okay, so these are the various eigenvalue concept. So these are again raising operator. If I do the raising operator, so these are almost same. So therefore you can say that the Hamilton operator, when you operate on that, you will get the E plus 1 energy. So a dagger takes into a new state 1 unit higher in the energy. So therefore by using these two operators, we can increase the energy scale from ground to up or from up to ground. Okay. So these are the various mathematical operations in the quantum mechanical calculation. So this is my ground state energy, and this is when operator that we will get the various unit of the 3/2, 5/2, all half multiples. So this gives the picture that the quantum mechanical computation is basically a fermion space. We can call it as a, because half spin particles are coming into picture, and that's the thing only this when electrons repeat the by, that's why Pauli exclusion principle will bring into picture. Okay, so therefore we have the matrix values for the a dagger and this one. So this considered operation will be there. Yeah. So these are our important quantum theory radiation. So H is equal to this. And if I operate that H, so we will get this equation A of n plus 1, and then this particular thing. So A expression is nothing but that. So we have to compute this P and X in terms of the qubit, so that you will get the A in terms of the qubit. Similarly, A dagger also we have to compute by using that. Later on, I will show you that. So A, that is a lowering operator, can be formed into this, and raising operator can be formed into this. So therefore, this two operation takes place into this form, and then we will get the X in terms of that. So position operator can be expressed in terms of the raising and lowering operator. Momentum operator can be taking place in terms of the position and lowering operator. So with the help of that, we solve the Schrodinger equation, and this is the program where I have given a length scale is a 5,000 number of points. So automatically, as per the grid point I have chosen by using that, this is my potential half kx square, at k value I have taken 100. And also I have taken an example of the quartic potential, which is x to the power 4. When we operate this one, and what exactly is there, here I took the operator theory, so that eigenvalue can be easily find it out. And this is my Hamiltonian. You can see that the Hamiltonian operator, the Laplacian operator, plus the diagonal part. And since the Hamiltonian is the operator, so I can take the root of the eigenvalue concept by using the power method. So automatically you'll get the eigenvector and eigenvalues. And that's the result. I'll show you it here. This is my lowering state and raising state. So if I apply this thing in the quantum mechanical harmonic oscillator, which I showed there, so you will see that this is the various states of the result it gives. This is the output of this program. So this is the quantum harmonic oscillator. Various domains is there. Though we have done the quantum mechanical concept, but output is nothing but our classical. This is a stationary state. And the same way, so you can see that at various energies, how the wave functions are changing. And if I take the envelope, means a contour, so you will get that this is my parabolic potential. So this is the parabolic potential, and this is the quartic potential, where it is the x to the and quartic potential, some kind of the anharmonicity we can say. So therefore we can see that the mode function changes with the different values of the energy. So here we see that as we are mentioning that a singleton ladder operator can be constructed with the help of the qubit. So A dagger, I can write in the half of sigma 1 minus I sigma 2. They are nothing but my Pauli spin matrices. And lowering ladder operator, we can write into half of sigma 1 plus I sigma 2. So one number operator, if I try to design, I can write into this matrix form, which is A dagger A, which is a number operator. So we can write that if I try to multiply in the matrix computation, half of 1 minus sigma 3, and the zero number operator, which is a whole. So we can, so particle and whole concept we get. And once we get the particle and whole concept, a lot of semiconductor concept we can bring into picture here in the quantum. And this is the beauty of the quantum computation. Same way, we can go operate on the state ground zero, we'll get the 1, so that is 0 to 1. You having the exclusion of ones here when you operate that. When you operate that is the exclusion of zeros, and when you operate the A1, you will lower to 0. So these are the various kinds of logical states in the qubit form will be taking place, and this 0, 0 is called as the oblivion. Okay, so same way you can see that the identity, so you can operate this one. Okay, so when you go for the nth state, we can get back into this. Okay, so using the single quantum number, we have this n. So therefore we can generate the multiple qubit number. So when you go for the multiple qubit number, there are 2 qubit number operators. Say q is equal to 2. In that case, n1 2 will be the tensor product of the n and 1. 1 is nothing but this, and n is nothing but this. So therefore, if I take a tensor product, you will see that the tensor product is coming nothing but that. Okay. And same way, if we take the n to 2, 1 into n, so you will get this. So that tensor product, it will give the result. And a large amount of bit of information can be taking place by simple a tensor multiplication. So these are the following tensor products for q equal to 3. So the same thing we wrote in a program and then operate on that, okay, and got the result. Now the concept is that when you come to the electronic scale, the simplest LC circuit is known as an oscillator. But can it be converted this into an quantum mechanical oscillator or quantum harmonic oscillator? That is the basic first attempt for quantum computation. Whoever jumped into this particular step, they should understand that. So this is the classical computer that the L and C inductor value I have given here, capacitor value I have given here. So with the help of that, we will have a LC circuit where the frequency of oscillation is 1 by square root of LC. And if I substitute this figure, we'll get the 5 gigahertz. So now you see for the capacitance, I know that we can write the Q by C and the voltage across the capacitor, which is again minus L di dt. Okay, so we can simply write that this is the voltage across the capacitor. This is the voltage across the inductance. This is the phi equal to minus L di dt. And we know that the energy stored in the capacitor is half CV square and energy stored in the inductor is half Li square. So you substitute the V in terms of Q, you will get the Q square by C, and you substitute the I in terms of phi, so you will get the half phi square by L, because Q equal to Vc and phi equal to Lc. And when you do the classical Hamilton equation that earlier we showed, so we'll get the minus phi dot by del H del Q and del H del phi is equal to phi. So we can see that this charge and flux, they are maintaining the classical Hamilton's equation. So therefore we can say that phi and Q, they are canonical variables. Okay. Once they are canonical variables, we can construct the quantum versions of the Hamiltonian, which is Q square by 2C plus phi square by 2L. So therefore, they have a commutation relation, flux and charge, which is IH cross. Obviously, they will follow the parabolic potential concept. And so therefore, we write P square by 2m half m omega x square in this form. So x is transferred to the phi and P is transferred to Q. So we will have that phi and Q is nothing but the IH cross. So therefore, this flux and charge can be submitted in the Hamiltonian concept to get the energy eigenstate in terms of the qubit concept. So a complete classical LC oscillator can be converted into a quantum mechanical oscillator by using this concept. So A dagger on the operating on, we know this formulation, so therefore if we operate that, we'll get the number operator. So in case of this particular circuit, the annihilation operator, the lowering operator, is formulated to this, where the ZC is an impedance of the oscillator. We can measure the impedance of the oscillator and submit back. So Q and phi, we can write in terms of the qubit concept of the raising and lowering operator, because these two operators we have already submitted in the qubit consideration. So I can submit the Q. This way that any physical variable in the quantum computation takes place, and that is the impact of the quantum harmonic oscillator in the computation of this classical variable to quantum world. Okay, so this is an program where the operator can taking place, and you can see that the variance of the operator can be there. So this is a program. I need not explain the program because the output of the program I'm showing, if I give this function in this form, so I take the variance and get bra. These are the Pauli spins. Oh, Pauli spins are taking place. We already know that the Pauli spin structure, and using the Pauli spin, various kinds of, again, the quantum state we can define. Okay, so this is my, now again started this is a quantum coordinate. We understood efficient provision of required Hilbert space dimension, quantum information. This is a primary resource for quantum computation in the Hilbert space dimension. And no realistic description of the states in the dynamics implies that the subsystems must become globally entangled in the course of the computation. Physical resources is a classical bit, this is a quantum bit. Okay, classical bit can be few electrons on a capacitor, a bit on a compact disk, 0 or 1 on the printed page, or smoke signals. So quantum bit. So the Mr. Planck will be giving this constant. Okay, so this is the concept. So now if we try to understand the realistic entanglement, we can write that the T equal to this qubit is a quantum digits, basically interaction of the lot of quantum bits. So this function can take place a tensor product of all these concepts. And as you are taking tensor product is a linear combination of this. This is the entanglement. Okay, so this is nothing but the number of amplitudes which is coming into this form is a polynomial in problem size. One qubit operation, if you see, it has been this. This application is nothing but a d by d or unitary matrix. Okay, so readout is that the determinant is the dd. Okay, so this is a polynomial in problem size, and you will get the dimension. So the efficient realistic description. So every quantum world will be there. I need not to explain now. It is coming into that form again. So there are a lot of dynamics in there, and you see that if there are p block concepts, so we can take into the p qubits. So when you go for the multi-qubit system, these are the various results are there, and computer state will be there. Again, block 1 p qubits, it is a block 2 qubits and block 3 qubits. How many quantum amplitudes need to be simulated, and how many arithmetic operations does it take to simulate 1 and 2 qubit quantum gates? How many operations are required to for readout? So these are the concept still to be taken care by the hardware, not by software. Algorithms have been developed, but we have to look for the hardware part. Then how many quantum amplitudes need to be simulated for this kind of thing? How many operations required? If you see that these are the operations taking place for readout. Okay. So these are the 1 qubit operations, and these are the 2 qubit operations. Okay. So therefore, it is a polynomial problem in size. So this is giving the 2 by 2 matrix. This is giving the 4 by 4 matrix. So if you go further, the efficient provision of required Hilbert space dimension, tensor product structure give the subsystems. It is the entanglement among all the subsystems, and no efficient realistic description of the solution. So we can say that the global entanglement is a resource that allows a quantum computer to economize on resources. Okay, so this is the computation domain again, showing that how the Pauli matrix takes place. So this is the probability of occupancy with the half spin, which can be written into this mathematical form, and then you compute that. So this it will ensure that the total probability of one or other of the two possible spin orientations is unity. This is a flowchart of quantum computing. You see that we call this function, we develop the Kronecker delta, decompose that, then spin chain Hamiltonian with a periodic boundary condition, and finally we define a spin chain. Okay, so these are the complete domains of the spin chain. You can see that the functions we have written into this form, and when you come to that, you will get that the output. You will see that the output x0110, y, these are the Pauli matrices, these are identity. So you can develop a Hamiltonian, then spin chair. If you do that, you will get the ground state energy. And then finally, we have the entangling of the qubits. Okay. So these are the exclusive operator, as we are mentioning that all the gate we can find it out by using the spin flip transition of the quantum world. So therefore, it is already shown to you. So global entanglement is a no efficient classical description, only that the global entanglement is required. And these are the various circuits part will be there, mixed state quantum computation. So this already I showed you earlier that why it is now it is realized that why it will takes place is a various domain. So you can see that the gigahertz entanglement strength, and this part will be there. Okay. So these are the various measures. All will result -1. Local realism implies that is 1. And quantum mechanics says that this is a +1, so positive. So there is a circuit, Gottsman-Neal circuits, and this circuit it will tell you that how exactly that the system will take place. So this is again quantum mechanical angle we'll see in the different form. If I feed it into that, I will get this result. And this matrix, when I'll try into that, I will get this. So ultimately, the computation I'm doing that part only. Okay, by feeding that information. So then finally, global entanglement state will get that. So we get that the correlation right requires from these various measurements. So this measurement should be there. 4 qubit gigahertz entanglement state. So this is the 4 qubit, 1, 2, 3, 4 qubit gigahertz entangled state. So therefore this gives the result. Okay. So for n qubit gigahertz state, a simple extension of this argument shows that n to 2 qubit operation will be there. So these are the quantum gates. One input gate, it is the square root of naught I am showing. So if I put that, I will get the result. So we can see that when this is going into this state, the probability of this. So not get single input, one input gate. So we'll get that. So the gate structure in electronically, we have to design into that. The square root of naught gate. Square root of naught is not possible in the case of classical computation. So these are the clustered state quantum computation. Clustered state means a lot of bits will be prepared into that. And then we'll have a various results already I showed in here. And these are the pure states. So entanglement among all substrates will give the pure states. And then mixed states should be there. Computer state not restricted to be a product. So P not entangled separable. And rho is a mixture of product states. And this is result. So this is the power of 1 qubit. You can see that how the power will come. So a large amount of operations can be taking place with respect to the tensor product. Okay. And this way it will give the power of 1 qubit is a trace of the operation. What should we make this? This is a mixed state of quantum computation. First qubit, fourth qubit, second qubit, and third qubit. This is the structure you will get them. So therefore, we can say that before getting too proud of ourselves, we can say we really comprehend the quantum mechanics, or do we just know how to use the formalism? Is quantum mechanics a law of thought or a law of physics to go further the quantum computation? So can there be a better route for understanding than studying how to use quantum phenomena to accomplish information? And so quantum information science is under the track for using that. So we can conclude my lecture as we learned basics of quantum mechanics. We showed you that the various properties of the quantum harmonic oscillator in terms of the raising and layering operator. We explained that the LC circuit can be taken as a building block of quantum harmonic oscillator. And so many combination of LC circuit will give you that the hardware part of the various quantum circuits or quantum gates. We simulate some of the results using the MATLAB. So we can also explain that the quantum circuits can implement several important algorithms with fewer operations than any classical algorithm. With that, let me conclude this lecture and thank you very much for patience hearing. Okay.
Well, it has been Professor Duarte, it has been a real pleasure to listen to your lecture on quantum mechanics.
Okay.
And well, actually, I did start with quantum mechanics a long time ago, many decades ago.
Okay.
So it's really nice to look at this again.
Yes.
And I think your lecture was really splendid because you do explain step by step all the fundamentals, which are very important for everybody.
Yeah.
And this is suitable for professional, senior scientists, and also for students who are trying very hard to achieve something in quantum computing. There are many people, you know, doing their PhD in quantum computing. And therefore, this kind of lecture, well, it is a pleasure to see Professor Ambarasan there.
Yes.
Yes.
How, Prof?
Professor. Good evening, Professor.
Good evening.
I am from Periyar University.
It is a real pleasure to see you. How are you doing?
Very
Prof?
nice. Professor.
Yeah.
Very good,
So,
interesting title you have chosen.
Yeah.
The few more my doubts is that is some there are some understanding towards that. Can you say a few ideas about quantum mind? Quantum mind.
Quantum
Mind.
quantum
MIND.
mind. Yeah, okay. Quantum mind, you can see that if I look at some cognitive analysis, so cognitive analysis always you will go for some machine learning concept. Okay, so say neural network. So in this case of quantum mind also, it will be giving the qubit information if we go for some neuron concept. So mind will come from the structure of the neuron. So we have to design the so when is going find one state to another state, this kind of jump we can explain with the help of the quantum computation. So quantum mind in a single sense that it is nothing but the jumping from one state to another state. Okay, you may be having some repressed state, you may be having some kind of excited state. So that is the meaning of the quantum mind. Okay, the meaning of the quantum mind. But we have to again, I have to again see that how best we can explain that.
Yeah, that's very true. Huh?
Yeah.
And well, I hope that in the very near future, Professor Ambarasan will give us a webinar again. That will be absolutely splendid. How's the situation with you, Professor Ambarasan?
Yes, here about your random situation you are asking, Professor.
No, what sorry, well, now I can hear you well. Because there is a long distance between Chile and India, and sometimes the signal goes, but now I can hear you. No, I was telling you that I do hope that in the very near future you will be able to give us a new webinar. Do you think that is possible for you?
Yes, it will take some time. Still our institution closed level. That will take time to open it. So some of the important materials I have kept in my cabin.
Yes,
So it will take
I can see that happened to everybody.
There nowadays full that means lockdown followed here, so they are not allowing to go inside that institution, so that it may take time to go for giving.
But eventually this will be over. Sometime, who knows? No one knows very well, but eventually this is going to be over. So I understand that your university is closed down for a while due to this pandemic. Is this the point?
Yes.
Well, we are having the same situation here as well. Huh? All the universities are really closed down, waiting for a better time. But well, I think we need to carry on working and working. That's all. And listen to music. That's the other thing that we can do, actually.
This is we cannot go outside from our residence area.
Well, we can do nothing. I have been in jail for months.
And we are physically and mentally disturbed.
Yeah, this is not very good.
Yes.
But I don't think we can do very much. All we can do is to carry on doing science and the kind of thing which are very, very interesting. And perhaps writing, which is something very, very important as well. And well, it is a real pleasure. And I think that Chanava is somewhere there, but he has been very, very quiet. Chanava, are you there? No, I think it's... well, I have to acknowledge Professor Data again, my friend, and also my dear friend, Professor Ambarasan. And I do hope to see you, to meet you personally sometime in India.
Yeah, sure.
I hope so.
Certainly, we are waiting.
I'm going to sit down in the plane for about 2 days. And I will get there eventually. Well, what can I say? I just thank you. And it is amazing. Since I was very small, I was very fond of India. I don't know why, but I have been very fond of the music, and I like India a lot. So before I pass away, I'm going to stay some time in India and see how the situation is there like. But it's a beautiful place. Well, thank you very much indeed to you all. I'm going to upload this to YouTube and to LinkedIn. And so I hope that we are going to keep on in touch for a long time. And please do pass on my best wishes and fondest regard to your family and beloved people. Please do take care. Okay?
Okay.
And
Okay.
thank you very much for everything,
Yeah.
Professor.
Okay.
Take care. See
Okay.
you.
Take care. See you.
See you. Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye. Bye bye.
Bye-bye, Prof. Master.
Bye bye.